The vast majority of people, students in particular, but other people too, who walk by Tillman Hall have no idea who he is and don't really care. But if you look into who he is, he was a very complex individual who did some good things, but he also did some horrible things.
Tillman Hall, one of the most iconic buildings on campus. A 3-story building with an illuminated clock tower overlooking Bowman Field. This great building must have been named after someone deeming high recognition and status. Someone who truly encompasses the values and prestige of Clemson University, right? In the next 10 minutes, we are going to describe to you who Benjamin Ryan Tillman was and how his unspoken controversy continues to affect Clemson.
Benjamin Ryan Tillman was born in 1847 on the Chester family plantation near Trenton, South Carolina. His father, Benjamin Ryan Tillman Sr., ran the plantation and the inn, which both resided on the 2,300 acres they called home. Benjamin's family was known to get into trouble. 2 of Benjamin's brothers were killed in domestic disputes, and his father and another one of his brothers had killed men while in similar feuds.
When Benjamin's father died in 1849, his mother took over the plantation. By 1860, his mother owned 86 slaves. She was able to manage the plantation and inn with Benjamin's help. In 1861, Benjamin began attending school at Bethel Academy in the western part of Edgefield. But soon before his 17th birthday, he dropped out of school to enlist in the Confederate Army. His plans on enlisting were brought to a halt by the loss of his left eye due to a cranial tumor.
In 1865, Benjamin met Sally Stark, and they later got married in 1868. Just a year later, they settled down on the Tillman family land passed down to him by his mother. This is where they started their family and ended up having 7 children. Tillman spent the next several years managing his plantation and acquiring more and more land for his growing agricultural business.
Early in his political career, Tillman was known for his role in the Red Shirts, a paramilitary gang dedicated to the election of Democrats and eradication of Republicans. The Red Shirts in practice were seen as a racist gang focused on controlling the Black Republican population of the time. During his time leading the Red Shirts in the late 1870s, Tillman had taken part in multiple lynching and massacres, including the Hamburg Massacre, where 9 African Americans were killed, in which Tillman had a leadership position for the duration of that year.
Tillman's political career took off in the 1880s, where he represented the poor rural white farmers as a Democrat. Tillman was elected governor of South Carolina in 1890, where he began to enforce his populist views and various reforms. He is most known for his strides to redistribute the tax burden to the wealthy, improve public education for white males, and most notably in writing the Constitution of 1895. The Constitution of 1895 is South Carolina's governing doctrine, still in use over 120 years later. Tillman helped influence the writing of the document and is partially credited with writing in the Jim Crow laws that would stand until the 1960s. The 1895 Constitution also encouraged the deliberate prevention of African Americans to vote.
Tillman served as a United States Senator from 1895 until his death in 1918. He was an influential legislator who was known for his ready-to-fight attitude towards politics. He was instrumental in the passing of multiple bills and laws, such as the Tillman Act, Hepburn Bill, and others.
As a previous governor and U.S. Senator, Tillman was heavily involved in politics. He was commonly referred to as Pitchfork Ben because he threatened to prod the president at the time, President Grover Cleveland, with a pitchfork, and because of his support for white American farmers. His passion for agriculture grew from living on a farm. He had begun his own business and became successful. He had also created the Tillman Act, a law preventing corrupt businesses to get involved with politics. For instance, this banned big corporations from giving money to a specific candidate, which would heavily impact the elections. While companies figured out loopholes against this act, the law still remains today.
Tillman also contributed to the establishment of Clemson University. He had even spoken at the opening in 1893. Once he died, most of his money and land were used to found the original Clemson College. Tillman Hall was not always referred to as such. The building was originally called Old Main. It wasn't until 1946 that the building took the name Tillman Hall.
The idea that Benjamin Tillman's name should be taken off Old Main was highly brought to the attention of Clemson's Board of Trustees in 2015 when the phrases, "Tillman was a violent racist," and "Blacks must remain subordinate or be exterminated" was spray painted across the back of Tillman Hall. As a result of this, both Clemson's graduate student government and Clemson faculty voted in favor of the name change. But the final vote came down to the Board of Trustees, and they voted the name should not be changed. The reasoning was, some of our historical stones are rough and even unpleasant to look at, but they are ours, and denying them as part of our history does not make them any less so. For that reason, we will not change the name of our historical buildings. Many were outraged by this statement.
And somebody like Ben Tillman, if you do know about him, it has the potential to hurt people who were part of this community, to realize that, or to have them second guess whether they're actually a part of this community. And I think it reflects very badly on the reputation of Clemson University.
The grand building is still commonly known as Tillman Hall. If you feel this dishonors Clemson University, I challenge you to refer to the building as Old Main.
And think about, why do we honor this man?